Got the latest cool video, raid bosses, and NPCs in Scars of Destruction, the 21st expansion for EverQuest II. And you know the name of the online tank game that a lot of the EverQuest code came from. It's all in this episode of the EverQuest Show.
I'm on top of the world, now I'm living, and the good just gets better, keeps on giving. Not even close to the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter. Gotta celebrate life and get excited about good times and good living. Come on, shout it out. Hey, take it up, take it over, take it out of control. Today I'm freeing my soul, and now you got me singing. Oh, hey, oh.
Hello, and welcome into the EverQuest Show. As we approach the final month of the year of Darkpaw, both games are wrapping up an extremely busy year with the launch of the 31st expansion for EverQuest and the 21st expansion for EQ2. I will have a complete review of the Outer Brood for EverQuest in the coming episode, so now is a perfect time to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss a single episode of the EverQuest Show. But first, now that the 21st expansion for EverQuest II is live, here is the EverQuest Show's complete review of Scars of Destruction. As the 20th anniversary of EverQuest II approached, the developers at Darkpaw Games knew that their 21st expansion would release just weeks away from that milestone date. With that in mind, there was a concerted effort to ensure that the expansion would touch on original themes and storylines that were unique and nostalgic to EQ2, while exploring areas that were yet to be uncovered. And with ties to Velius and Otis, Scars of Destruction would weave a new tale while revisiting old but familiar foes. The key art for the expansion gave us the first hint at one of those foes, as none other than Lucan Delir takes center stage. You'll arrive in the expansion in the Sodden Archipelago. At first, this swampy starting point is a far cry from the vibrant, colorful landscapes of Ballads of Zamara, but where the previous expansion evoked an ethereal and otherworldly sense of wonder, Scars of Destruction is a slap back to a sense of real danger, an exploration of areas unknown that are gritty and scary and vast, where getting lost is a real concern. But all is not completely unfamiliar. For those savvy to the original EverQuest, the Sodden Archipelago is actually the barren coast on Otis from EverQuest The Buried Sea expansion. However, now it's hardly barren, not much of a coast, as the series of events over the past 500 years have shaped the landscape into a thick swamp. And here, you'll meet the Kappa, a race of turtle-like creatures who inhabit and patrol the swamps. And the Kappa aren't new to the EverQuest universe. They first appeared in EverQuest Online Adventures, but haven't been heard from since, and now, 1,000 years into the future on Otis, they've emerged in Scars of Destruction and will play a role in unfolding the storyline. Though you enter the expansion in the swamp in Sodden Archipelago at Port Woe, as you explore you'll find multiple biomes, climb in altitude a bit, if you can find your way through the swamp, and clear skies return and a new landscape emerges. You'll also run into a mountainous corner of the archipelago that certainly rings true to the Sodden part of the name. The rain here is constant, and you'll find a tribe of baboon-like primates called the Mondoko. Further up, you begin to see the first hints of the architecture that exists in the higher altitudes. You'll cross a field of army ants patrolling a desert plateau before you find yourself firmly trespassing into orc territory. High up in Sodden Archipelago is a stronghold of Blackhook orcs. Yes, those Blackhook orcs from the Orcish Wastes in the original launch. Here, with the assistance of some goblins, they've built, or really just taken over, a vast network of Mad Max-style architecture of scaffolding and junkyard ingenuity. And the goblins themselves provide a little comic relief of dark humor in their resourceful use of acquisitions and their persuasion by the Blackhook orcs. Further up, you'll begin to get a glimpse of more grandiose structure as the Blackhook stronghold emerges. This sets the stage for entrance into Blackhook Spiral, the stronghold of the Blackhook orcs. While Blackhook Spiral is one of the dungeons in the expansion, the zone is so vast and open that it feels like an overworld area. There's a gritty and industrial landscape with platforms and islands, and cranes, zip lines, and towers, but the orcs here hide a secret. And a familiar foe. You see, we handed over the lost soul of Terranax to the orcs some time ago, and very soon we find out that Terranax has returned and has been trying out life, or unlife, as an orc. The ties of this part of Otis to the Void are visible and of particular note, especially to one who may be interested in opening a gateway to the Void. And of course, we must stop that from happening. Meanwhile, a continent away, over on what remains of Velius, Western Waste is prime for exploration. With the expected populations of walrus, ulthorcs, and sirens, you'll make your way through the tundra and ice, but the story here also reunites us with some previous EQ2 lore. There are parts of Western Waste that are healing, lush, and green, and it is not lost that the creatures here bear a striking resemblance to a reborn Lady Vox that has recently gone mysteriously missing since the renewal of Roe. Now, this overland zone has plenty of adventuring, exploration, and variety to experience, and as you approach the graveyard of dragon bones, with Chitauri scurrying and pillaging about, you know you're arriving at the entrance to the dungeon of Dragon Necropolis. This is where the full plot of Scars of Destruction comes into view. The Chitauri are still active and formidable in their claim of sections of the necropolis, but of course it's all about dragons. More importantly, dragons that have found their final resting place in the sacred area beneath the Scars of Velius. You'll battle with all sorts of undead dragons as you venture through the necropolis with different wings of the dungeon dedicated to specific types of dragons. And it's here that we catch up with the antagonist of the expansion, Lucan Delir. But now that I've given you an overview of the 2 overland areas and 2 dungeon areas of the expansion, let's get down to brass tacks of the other features of the expansion. First, while there's no level increase for this expansion, you can now boost your character to level 130. Then there are also the staples of each expansion: new adventure, signature, and trade skill lines of quests, also heroic, solo, and raid dungeon content in both Dragon Necropolis and Blackhook Spiral, with 12 raids expected when all content is released between expansion launch and the next game update. But there are also 2 new features being added with Scars of Destruction. The first is a Petamorph keyring, to ease the inventory load of all of those Petamorph wands. And also a weapon aura feature to personalize your weapons with various auras to give them a unique look. But where this expansion succeeds is tapping into threads of nostalgic EverQuest II content, pulling from the original stories and foes that established the game 20 years ago. Now, admittedly, I am not a core EverQuest II player, but like the last 2 expansions that I reviewed in beta, this one made me want to play, to hear the story, unfold the lore of what was going on in these places that are cemented in EverQuest lore. I'm also truly amazed by what the development team was able to accomplish with storytelling and art. The lore is rich and purposeful in its direction, in its visual storytelling, as well as its traditional video game storytelling. But once again, it's the art that truly inspires me. Now, these aren't the colorful rainbow palettes of Ballads of Zamara, but I think the direction of creating more realistic, unique landscapes like swamps and highlands and rocky outcrops is a much more demanding task to do it well. And the artists do, not only adding a realism to the swamps of Sodden Archipelago, but also in the weather-worn rocks of the zone and giving nods to previous areas of Otis. In Western Waste, special consideration was given to not making a bleak, snow-blinding one-note wasteland, but instead capturing a tundra with hints of color from what was happening in the zone. Purposeful designs that, if you're happily playing along, you won't notice, but that's kind of the point, to make it feel a certain way and not look a certain way. And take a moment to appreciate the work that is done with the NPC models in this expansion. Some NPCs, like the new Lucan Delir, were completely new models with great animations that, along with scripting, help with the aforementioned storytelling. But also the wide variety of new NPCs, NPC reskins, or new model animations that were tackled to give life to Scars of Destruction. It's a strong expansion to be added to EverQuest II's catalog as it now passes 20 years of live service. So have you played Scars of Destruction yet, or is that the first time you're seeing video of the expansion? I want to know what you think, whether you've played it or not. Comment below with your thoughts on the latest expansion for EverQuest II. And a special thank you to all of the wonderful EverQuest II players and developers that assisted the EverQuest show with getting some great video for that review. And do you have story ideas, or maybe you just want to help out with supplying content for the show? I could desperately use help with all aspects of the show, so go to EverQuestShow.com, let me know if you want to help out the show, or maybe you'd like to be a contributor yourself. In the meantime, here's some more content that's exclusive to the EverQuest show as we spotlight another Dark Paw Games developer.
My name is Lucy McLaurin, and I'm the engineering manager for EverQuest. My main job is to make sure all of the things that are problems in the game for code and all of our projects are tracked and scheduled and prioritized. But I would say the most recent really important big projects like that, the alternate personas, I think it's probably the most challenging project I've worked on. The idea for it came from the Shroud system, which is, to be honest, not a very popular system with players. But when you see it from the internal code perspective, Shrouds use this thing called a profile. It's like a selection of certain types of data that includes your class, race, level, and things like that. The idea came to me that, oh, we could just use this system and give people a permanent profile, and being like, this is an opportunity to do something really cool that is so technically complicated that it wouldn't be possible if Shrouds hadn't existed. I think two of the more interesting ones that I know about are that EverQuest's code was based on a multiplayer online tank game named Tannerus, and some of that code is still around. I think the best example would be missile code, which is going to be things like arrows and also things like a magician bolt spell. That projectile is a missile. So Tannerus lives on in its own way. When you look at that game, you're like, oh, it looks strikingly similar. So something that it was only in code comments but never actually fleshed out was when you camp, there's this comment that says, we're putting this in until inns are finished. So EverQuest was based on a MUD, a multi-user dungeon. In a MUD, you have items that are no rent, which will be very familiar to EQ players. And when you log off, they're gone, unless you log off in an inn. So the way that in a MUD you would save your items is to go to an inn first and then leave there. And if you exited the game from outside, it was called camping. And so all the EQ starting cities have inns, and I imagine that this was for this purpose, but they never finished it. So it's always been you just camp wherever you want. Plane of War. I really like how challenging it is. I really like the events in that zone, the Grandmaster and the Plane of War raid. All the quests are really good. All the things that the NPCs do in that zone are super interesting and difficult and totally unlike the rest of the game. I really like cute things, which is subjective, but I really like Rulons, the Chitauri, Crag Beasts. They added a new baby dragon model. I love that one. Owlbears are probably my favorite.
For EverQuest 2 players, Ballads of Zamara, that's been the latest content. And the starting zone for that expansion has been one of the most beautiful in the game. So let's go behind the scenes of Splendor Sky Aerie.
The whole thing started from, we're going to make this island and we're going to put this giant bonsai tree on the edge. But the idea is that it's going to be living and that the Hulik actually live in the tree, but the tree's still alive. It's all, magic. They don't harm the tree, they shape it with magic and stuff like that. So we wanted to give the Hulik like a really cool, storyline, a backstory, make them feel more substantial.
We knew in the beginning when that giant tree, but then when we started kind of forming out the roots and maybe we can have the roots kind of growing out of the landscape itself, and then we're like, okay, well now we can have pockets and all these like places to explore, and then after that, because of flight and having these guys flying around, we're like, now we have branches and we can use basically all parts of the tree to kind of create this really cool neat little areas that you can kind of go around and explore. And the anatomy of a tree just kind of made those possible in itself. Is like, how can we use every part of the tree to kind of make all of these different cool little areas that we can kind of create.
So next episode, complete review of The Outer Brood. I also have plenty more content, more on Luke and Delir as well. And thank you so much for continuing to support the channel. As a reminder, I do not monetize this channel in any way. I get nothing for doing this. It's a lot of work, but I want to ensure that the worlds of EverQuest and EverQuest II are preserved and continue on for as long as possible. And we can do that by letting people know that EverQuest and EverQuest II are alive and kicking. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in either NORAD.
We gotta be the best we can be. And though sometimes we don't want to, still we gotta chase our dreams, reach up and reach high. cause we're gonna pull through and give it all we got, even though it can't seem hard to catch and make it happen, but we can't start sliding. Come on and do what you gotta do to fight on. And so no matter what comes your way,